Hey guys, it's me, Yolanda Truesdale. Um, I'm here to reflect about this semester as a writer. I wanted to begin with one of our first writing assignments, writing about the best and worst memories of our schooling. My best memory was my fourth grade teacher who basically did the writer's workshop model. And my worst memory was my first grade teacher who really instilled a needless need for perfection that was unattainable. And I really feel like that experience shaped both of those experiences shaped the teacher and the writer, the adult writer that I am today. So one of the first readings we did was in our first class where we did our timeline and we did some quick writes, and we talked about the steps of the quick write, and this really resonated with me because in this class and during this week of study, I realized what my problem as a writer was. I have all these ideas and books that I want to do, but I procrastinate and I never get them done. But I started to piece it together that I don't think procrastination was the problem as much as organization. And because I'm trying to edit while I'm trying to get my ideas together, it just makes it too much and too hard, and I just stop. Or I just know it's going to be like that and I don't even want to begin. And knowing that really released me to write more often and take the pressure off of thinking that I had to have a finished product when I was done with my writing session for that day, which may seem like a duh moment, but I was really stuck on that. It's easier said than done when it's yourself. So this is a picture of my daybook, and I don't write like quick jots in my daybook or like essays or anything like that. I do that on my computer because I like typing better than I do writing. But one thing that I do use consistently my daybook for is a running record of ideas, of brainstorming ideas, anywhere from that person that looks strange in the grocery store to remembering a Thanksgiving of the past. And that's something that I've consistently used it for. So after I had this kind of revelation, the way the course took us, I started to think, how can I apply this into the classroom and in my experiences with kids? And the first thought that I had was about boys and how they love to write nonfiction, but sometimes the curriculum doesn't. And I don't mean all boys. I'm not generalizing, but in my experience, a lot of boys wanted to read and write nonfiction, but the curriculum, it wasn't time for that yet. And just thinking about, how did we handle that in the classroom and how I might handle it going forward. And that brought me to the reading from the last group of readings in our class, Boy Writers Reclaiming Their Voices. And I couldn't click on the link in our class, so I went ahead and Googled it because I really wanted to read excerpts from this book. And the best thing is that right here, like the first dot is that boy writers need to be engaged. Well, that's so true. And I've had that in many, many experiences where as long as the kids were engaged, it really didn't matter what they were writing, even though that was kind of renegade for the time. And then when I thought about boys, I started to think about one of my toughest kids that I ever taught, hands down. This was the toughest year of my career. And even though this isn't the student in the picture, I picked this clip art because he looks just like him. I know I've seen this face several times that school year. And all he wanted to do, if he did work, was write about Star Wars. He wanted everything was about Star Wars. He called himself Star Wars characters. And I had never seen the movie before. I'm kind of embarrassed now that I had never seen any of the Star Wars. I mean, I knew about the lore. It's popular culture, to know the phrases and things, but I had never seen the movie. So even though I was trying to connect with him, I really couldn't. So what I did that Christmas, I went home and I said I was going to watch the Star Wars movies, just enough so I can get a little bit more insight. What happened is I watched the whole thing, the whole series over the Christmas break, and I cried and I cried, and it changed my life. It was like, I can't believe I had never seen this before. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't believe that a child at 5 years old can relate to this, because it's really deep. But I just figured, it might be the fighting or, whatever, the lightsabers. So it was a really gratifying experience, and I thank him to this day for making me watch that out of necessity. And that brings me to the next slide. In the boy writers reclaiming their voices, another point that he makes is that it's all about relationships. What if it wasn't a, curriculum issue or a behavior issue, but what if it's a relationship issue with that student, which I found that year that's what it was. He had failed to connect with anybody on the level that he needed, and he actually had, which is always the case, he actually had other things that were going on that he was crying out for help for. So I want to leave you with this little anecdote. It was the end of the school year, and we had wrote back around to small moments again, where in kindergarten they're supposed to add a lot more details, but he was really kind of just doing what the kids were doing at the beginning of the year, since he didn't do anything for the first semester. And I was conferencing with him, and he wrote a story, and he had his pictures, and it was him as Anakin, and it was his resource teacher and as Obi-Wan, and it was me with a brown face and green ears as Yoda. And I told him to read it to me, and his actual writing says, "I am Anakin now." But what he said to me, if you don't teach kindergarten, a lot of their writing at the beginning, they dictate. So what he said to me was, I came into kindergarten as Darth, and now I am Anakin, and you are my Yoda, and Miss M, his resource teacher, is my Obi. And everything wasn't fixed that school year, and I'm sure that I had to write him up probably by the end of that day. So his behavior wasn't fixed, but that moment just melted me, because I knew I had made a connection with him that was lasting, and I will never forget him.